Okay, so we're going to do a little bit of review for our chapter test that is coming up. This is my second time doing this video because I forgot to turn my mic on the first time. So here we go. First thing I want to go over is al-mudari', which is present tense. Present tense verbs. We covered 5 pronouns that we conjugated in. We have ana, which is I, anta, you, masculine, anti, you, feminine. That's going to be second person. Huwa, he, and hiya, she. Okay, so I'm going to give you a verb, and you can go ahead and practice with it. And the first one that I'm going to give you, let's do adrus, meaning I study. So go ahead and fill in the blanks. Okay, so for anta, and I remember here always starts with alif hamza. For anta, we're going to start with a ta. All of the harakats, everything else will remain the same. All the letters and everything will stay the same. So we have a dal here, so we're going to put this dal here. Notice that connects because ta connects, but in this one the alif doesn't connect. Anta tadrus. For anti, you're using the same exact thing as anta, which is you start with a ta, and we say tadrus, but we have to add a suffix to the end because it's feminine. We're going to add a ya with a nun, tadrusin. Huwa starts with a ya, and hiya starts with a ta. Huwa yadrus, hiya tadrus. So you're going to do the same thing now, and let's do it with the verb. We'll put here askun, because we did that verb, to live, and let's add amal, just to work. So go ahead, pause, and then come back. Okay, ana askun, I live. Anta taskun, you live. You feminine, anti taskunin. Huwa yaskun, hiya taskun. Okay, now let's try أعمل. أنا أعمل. أنت تعمل. You work. So this is work or to do. This one was live, and this is study. Okay. أنت تعمل. أنت تعملين. هو يعمل. هي تعمل. So now let's use this in context. You're going to pause the video and try to fill in the blanks here. So for each one, what we're going to do is we're going to conjugate the verb that's between the parentheses. And notice all of these are in the huwa form. They all start with ya. So the default of the verb is always the huwa form. Okay, the masculine, third person masculine form. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at who's doing the action, right? And who are we speaking for in each sentence, and then change it for that particular pronoun. Okay, رقم واحد, number 1. هو في البنك. هو, he. So it's in the huwa form, and huwa always starts with a ya. So let's look at the verb. Oops. Let's look at the verb. The default is it starts with a ya. So in this case, we don't have to change anything. هو يعمل, he works في البنك, in the bank. أنتِ, you. So remember, for أنتِ, the verb starts with a ta and it ends with a ya nun. So we're going to drop this ya, we're going to put the ta, then we add this right here, dal, ra, sin, and then we add our ending, our prefix. أنتِ تدرسين اللغة العربية, which is Arabic language. لغة means language. في كلية Henry Ford. كلية is college. So Henry Ford College. You study Arabic at Henry Ford College. Ya Khalid. If I say ya, that means I'm talking to the person. It's you. And Khalid is masculine, so this is going to match anta. Ya Khalid, anta. So we have yaskun. For anta, remember we change it to a ta. So we take a ta here, and then everything else remains the same. Ya Khalid, aina taskun. Where do you live? He responds, ana. First letter now has to be alif hamza, and then the rest is the same. Ana askun fi Dearborn. Walidi, my dad. Walid is father. Remember, ya makes it mine. My dad. Walidi. He's masculine. We're talking about him, so it's third person. So it's going to match for huwa. Walidi. For huwa, remember, we start with the ya, so we don't have to change anything. Walidi yuhib al-qahwa al-arabiyya. Arabic coffee. He loves Arabic coffee. Wa ana, and I, change it to alif hamza. La uhib al-qahwa. I don't like coffee. At-taliba, the student. So which pronoun is it for? I, you, he, she. The student, she. We're talking about her. She's feminine, so it's going to match for hiya. And remember, hiya starts with ta. So we start it with a ta. That's what we changed here. And we keep everything else the same. This verb means to take. Okay. الطالبة تأخذ الامتحان من الأستاذ. She's taking the exam from the teacher. Okay. Okay. The other thing that I want to cover is Nisba. We want to do a little bit of practice with Nisba. And remember, we talked about in the lesson that a Nisba is origin. It tells you where something is from. And the way to get the Nisba adjective is that you have a noun of place and you change it so that it becomes a Nisba adjective. So you're changing this noun of place to a descriptive word. And it's usually a country, but it could be a place like a university or college or a bookstore, things like that. The rule is very simple. The first rule that you have to do is you look at that noun, and if it starts with an alif lam, you drop it. If it ends in a ta marbuta, you drop it. If it ends in an alif or a ya alif, you drop it. Once you drop those parts of the noun, then in order to change it and make it into a nisba adjective, you're going to add the letter ya to the end of it with a shadda. And this is if it's masculine. If it's feminine, you're going to add that ya, which makes it nisba, and a ta marbuta to make it feminine. Okay? So let's look at an example here. If I have Al-Urdun, which is Jordan, what does it start with? It starts with alif lam here, and I said I had to drop that, so I dropped this. So once I drop that, these are the letters I'm left with. Now I have to do step 2, and I have to add the ya to the end. In order to do that, I have to open up the noon so it can connect because it's not final position anymore. And I have to add the ya here. Urduni. So this is masculine. Huwa Urduni, meaning he's Jordanian. If I wanted to say she's Jordanian, we do the same exact thing, except after that ya, we add a ta marbuta. Urduniya. Hiya Urduniya. She's Jordanian. Okay, so now let's look at the homework assignment that you guys did. Okay. Fez, Medina. Fez is the city Fez. It's in Morocco. And Medina is city, and we want to say Al-Maghrib is Morocco. Fez is a Moroccan city. All of these sentences have the word is implied. You just don't translate the word is as a separate word in Arabic. So it's just implied that it's there in the meaning of the sentence. So Faz is Medina. We want to say Moroccan. Remember, the noun comes first, the adjective comes next. That's why all of the Nisba adjectives are at the end of these sentences. They're after the noun they're describing. Medina is a feminine word, so we have to make sure that that adjective is feminine. Okay, we have an alif lam, so we're going to drop that. So now we have the word Maghrib. And then we have to add our ya. That's what makes it a nisba adjective. And a ta marbuta because Medina is feminine. Maghribiya. Fas, Medina Maghribiya. It's a Moroccan city. هذه أستاذة. This is أستاذة, professor or teacher. And notice it's feminine. Jazair means Algeria. So we're going to drop the alif lam here. Jazair. We're going to add the ya. And we have to add a ta marbuta because it's feminine. So add the ya with the shadda. That makes it nisba jazairiya. The ta marbuta because we're talking about a female teacher. Jazairiya. So Algerian teacher. Nicole. It's a girl's name. There's an English translation. Nicole bint. So Nicole's a girl. Faransa. What does that sound like? France. So we want to say a French girl. Doesn't start with alif lam, but it ends in an alif. So look at those rules of things that we have to drop. If it ends with alif, that's one of them. So we're going to drop that alif. We're left with France. And we add the ya. This makes it a nisba adjective. And a ta marbuta because it's feminine. Faransiya. Okay. Nicole bint Faransiya. Raj. Rajul. So Raj is a name, just like Nicole was a name. It's in quotations. Rajul is man. Al-Hind is India. So we want to say Indian man. Drop the alif lam. Hind. Then we add our ya. We don't need a ta marbuta here because he's masculine. Raj, Rajul, Hindi. هذه قهوة. Qahwa is feminine. So this is coffee. What kind of coffee? We want to say Turkish. So we're going to drop the ya and alif at the end. So remember we said if it ends in an alif or a ya alif, we drop it. And then we write the rest of the word. So we have Turk. We're going to add a ya. This makes it nisba with a shadda. Turki. And because it's feminine, qahwa, we're going to add a ta marbuta. Turkiya. هذه قهوة تركية. Okay. Richard. This is a fun transliteration of an English name. Richard. Doctor. He's a doctor. What kind of doctor? Australia. From Australia. So we want to say Australian. Doesn't start with alif lam, so you don't have to drop anything in the beginning. But it ends in a ya alif, so we're going to drop that. So we get Austral. He's masculine, so we just need the ya with the shadda. Australi. Okay, Australi meaning he's Australian. Okay, Tokyo. Tokyo, the city. Tokyo, Medina, it's a city, it's feminine. Al-Yaban, what does that sound like? Japan, very good. So we want to make it Japanese city, Japanese. We're going to drop the alif lam. Yaban. Add the ya here because it's nisba and ta marbuta because it's feminine. Yabaniya. Salma, girl's name. Taliba is a student. What kind of student is she? Al-Pakistan. What does it sound like? Pakistan. Very good. Drop the alif lam. We get Pakistan. Add the ya and ta marbuta. Pakistaniya. Notice here, Fusha doesn't have a P, so that's why it's written with a ba. Okay, a couple more. Maha. Maha is a girl's name. And it showed up in the video too. Maha, Taliba, she's a student. Maha is a student. Jami'a is university. This is something that you can do in Arabic but not in English. You can take a noun of a place like university or library and say something is from this place, meaning she's a university student. Okay, so you don't have that kind of adjective in English, but in Arabic you could do that. Same thing, you could say something as the book is from the library. You could use a nisba adjective. Okay, so it ends in ta marbuta. We're going to drop that. We have jami' like this. And we're going to add the ya. This makes it nisba, and it's feminine. So we're going to add ta marbuta, jami'iyya. And the last one here, هذه ساعة. ساعة يعني clock. It's a clock. الصين, we want to say it's a Chinese clock. So we're going to drop the alif lam. It can also, sa'a can also be watch, so a Chinese watch. Okay. So we have صين. We're going to add our ya, and because it's feminine, ta marbuta. Okay. صينية. هذه الساعة صينية. So that is nisba. The other things that you want to practice for the chapter test for lesson 1, al-mufradat. You want to practice your vocab words, and you also want to practice as-su'al, يعني حروف الاستفهام, the question articles that we did. So remember ma, ماذا, كيف, هل, those kind of words. So practice using the question articles, and then practice your vocab.